Hello everyone, it is April 2025 and I'm pretty strong in my belief that this month will be remembered as the war on tariffs between the United States and China. However, there is an additional mystery to this month, and this is the very powerful weapons puzzle. And this puzzle has at least 3 layers. I'm gonna talk about them, and when we reach to the 3rd layer, you will understand why this puzzle is practically impossible to solve. So, what is the origin of this puzzle? Well, on April the 9th, Mr. Trump had a press conference or press briefing in the Oval Office, and he was asked whether he was fearful of any escalation of the tariff war and tariff sanctions between China and the United States. And he was confident that Xi Jinping was smart enough not to make any steps towards something more hot escalation like warfare. And Trump just said this: "We are very powerful, this country is very powerful. It is far more powerful that people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea of what it is, and these are the most powerful weapons of the world. They are more powerful than anybody has. They are not even close." Now, because you know that this channel discussed the implications of possible UFO technology on international relations, this is the area of exopolitics. It is a separate science. You might know that I will jump immediately to the conclusion that yes, Trump referred to the United States having reverse engineered alien technology which can be used as very powerful weapons. However, there might be a very simple explanation. These words did not say anything specific. Probably Trump was just bluffing. But the first layer of this mystery is actually a simple explanation. Trump was bluffing and he wanted to show off some strength. And he might actually need it. So I would call this explanation is the 0 layer of this mystery, because this doesn't involve any specific extraterrestrial technology that would give the United States technological advantage in the world stage. And why am I saying this? This is quite likely because recent months showed that international players didn't see the United States as powerful as it might have been before. Putin, well, Lavrov and Rubio met in February in Saudi Arabia to discuss details of a ceasefire in Ukraine. Still, it was 2 months ago and nothing happened. And Putin doesn't really show any sign of making moves towards a ceasefire. And Trump expressed his frustration about it, and he wanted to urge Putin to move faster, but no, Russia continues the war. Now, the Chinese case is even more interesting. My analysis is based on the video that I linked down below. It comes from Lei's Real Talk channel. She's a Chinese woman who has various and deep insights into Chinese politics, and unfortunately I can't verify the claims she has, because some of them are so extraordinary that they surprise me too. Now, but in one of her talks, Lei expressed that the Chinese Communist Party has 6 reasons why they might attack Taiwan this year. And among these 6 reasons, we find some that refer to the perception of the United States power. Now, the first reason is the US fiscal position. China believes that in 2025, the US federal budget should spend more money on interest obligations than on defense capacities. And when a country has to pay more just to stay afloat financially than on its own security, China believes this is a sign of weakness. And even though inside the United States there were steps to stop the deficit to grow that rapidly, the Doge, these steps generated opposition towards the Trump administration. And this stems the second reason why China might be optimistic that they can carry out an attack on Taiwan. This is the US domestic opposition towards the Trump administration. Now, even though this might be true, when it comes to weapon and warfare, I don't think the US population will be so much divided that they won't support a war against China when China can be blamed flat out. So it's not a strong argument. But the third one is strong. The US military is stretched. Well, they are engaged in the Middle East, and they also have to pay attention to the development of the Ukraine-Russian conflict. And China believes it correctly. The United States doesn't really have enough capacity to pay attention to what happens in the Indo-Pacific, where Taiwan is located. One example that shows that China is indeed provocative in this region was the March 2025 live firing exercise in the Tasman Sea. And China was blatantly, I would say even nasty, that they notified the Australian and New Zealand defense officials just in the last minute, and the civilian aircraft picked up the signals first. Well, it's an obvious sign that China is asserting its own influence in the Indo-Pacific. Fourth, the United States alliance might have frictions. Now, it is true that Trump's tariffs affected its own allies, and there is some opposition towards the United States, but this argument is not that strong, because if it comes to a war between the United States and China, I believe the Western democracies would support the United States cause. So it's not a real argument for China to be optimistic to be able to carry out an attack on Taiwan. Fifth, this is a time constraint on China. Manufacturing might leave China soon. Although this is a consequence of the tariffs and it may take time, it may tip the manufacturing capacity balance towards the United States quicker than we might expect. And finally, Xi Jinping's mandate will expire in 2027, and Xi Jinping sees the annexation of Taiwan as the source for his own political survival. So he needs to rush. And the two reasons why I mentioned these, that the Chinese do not see the United States as strong, are there. The alliance system and its own domestic politics. Well, this could be enough for Trump to say something that is a show-off of United States power. Yeah. However, there was a development in the situation, and this development triggered the UFO community and all those who pay attention to the development of these extraterrestrial technologies or the reverse engineering technologies. And it was that Trump's science advisor, Michael Kratsios, had a speech on Monday the 14th of April. And in this speech, Kratsios specifically said this: "Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow, and improve productivity." Now, we can't really understand this differently than the manipulation of gravity that leads to the existence of anti-gravity propulsion systems, which is the basic of the supposed alien technology and transportation. And investigative journalist Ashton Forbes flat out believes that this refers to the United States military capabilities, which enabled them to make the Malaysian airline MH370 disappear in 2014. Well, this is quite hard to believe, but what makes this argument strong is that Kratsios specifically talked about the manipulation of time and space in the context of the lack of technological progress in the United States. And he said that in the 1980s, airplanes were faster than today. And yeah, one example he mentioned was the Concorde, which was decommissioned in the early 2000s. And trains are crawling compared to other parts of the world. Yeah, the United States doesn't have super fast trains like France, Japan or China. It is true as well. And when Kratsios mentions that actually regulation limits caused this technological lack, he mentions that actually the United States made a choice, and it wasn't just the lack of progress, it was a political choice not to use all those exotic and highly developed, highly advanced technologies in commercial use. Well, if we think about the commercial use, there's a counter argument why it was just the military that could use these technologies. This argument comes from Jason Georgiani and partly from Ashton Forbes. They believe that the anti-gravity and zero-point energy manipulation technologies are dangerous, so their civilian applications might cause chaos in society. Well, in theory, this argument might be true, but we could see the examples in terms of the application of nuclear power, and since the 1950s we had many nuclear power plants installed in national grids, and apart from some accidents, we can say that the nuclear power was safe to operate and society didn't use them to create chaos. So I believe this kind of limit is not genuine. I believe we could use these technologies to our own technological advancement. Now, this is, well, we talked about the mystery level 0, which is just the geopolitical context. This is mystery level 1, because if Kratsios is true and the United States military possesses technologies that enables of anti-gravity propulsion and the use of zero-point energy, in that case the question arises, why on earth did they not introduce these technologies into commercial applications? Because if they had done that, they might not need tariffs today, because they could keep their economic comparative advantage and technological advantage and productivity compared to the rest of the world intact. So I just don't know why that would be the case. I don't think these technologies are safely operable in our world, but that's for another discussion. The main fact is clear. Michael Kratsios did say these things. Okay, and here comes mystery level number 2. This is speculation, but still it can be the case. What if Kratsios was asked to say something meaningful that would justify what Trump claimed? That the United States have very powerful weapons that nobody really understands. Well, if someone, a man of science, says this, it gives emphasis to the statement. However, when can we see any commercial application of these technologies? these technologies can manipulate time and space. So when will we see the first time travel or anti-gravity propulsion in commercial applications? When will we see them? There is no deadline for the American administration, and unfortunately we are left without answers. So these three layers, the geopolitical advantage to show off by having very powerful weapons, the possibility that the United States indeed possesses technology that would enable time travel or anti-gravity propulsion, but they didn't implement it into commercial applications. And the third, what if this is again just a twist and it is a fabricated statement to cause further confusion in the world? My bet, we will never have the answers. This was the definition of the super powerful weapon puzzle. I don't think we will get the answers soon. But anyway, thank you for watching and see you next time.